You've probably seen it. These beautiful layered walls that look like they grew right out of the ground. Rammed earth. It's sustainable, it's gorgeous, and it's getting a ton of buzz. But what if the way we plan for it, especially in places like India where it's making a big comeback, is just fundamentally wrong? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden challenges of building with rammed earth, all from the perspective of someone who's actually done it. Let's get into it.
So, to set the scene, you've got to understand how these projects usually start in India. The phone call, the first spark of an idea, it almost always comes from an architect. Not a builder, not an engineer, but a designer who's captivated by the material. And you know what? In a lot of ways, that's the perfect way to start. I mean, architects bring this real curiosity to the table. They're not just seeing walls, they're seeing an opportunity for incredible design, for thermal performance, for beautiful aesthetics. But here's the most important thing they bring, especially in the Indian context: a dedicated structural engineer right from day one. And since rammed earth walls are the structure, having that engineering discipline from the get-go is a huge, huge advantage. It sounds like the perfect setup, right?
Exactly. It seems like the dream team. You've got the design vision, you've got the structural smarts, everything should just click into place. So where does this beautiful dream of an affordable, stunning, rammed earth home so often go completely off the rails? It's the money, plain and simple, or more specifically, the time and cost estimate. This is the one thing, the single point of failure that sends shockwaves through the entire project, and it all stems from a basic misunderstanding of where an architect's experience comes from. See, you have to realize an architect's whole frame of reference is based on conventional building: concrete, brick, plaster. In that world, everything is pretty predictable. They're established systems. But for rammed earth, that conventional rulebook doesn't just need a few new pages. You pretty much have to throw the whole thing out. Let's start with formwork. In a normal build, you just call a supplier, rent, or order some standard forms. Easy. But for rammed earth, yeah, that product doesn't exist. Every single piece of formwork has to be custom designed and built just for your project. That's weeks of skilled carpentry work before you can even think about ramming a single wall. Right there, you have a huge, often unseen upfront cost. Okay, next up, labor. This one's a biggie. You can't just go out and hire a team of masons. Their skills don't really transfer. And you definitely can't hire a concrete crew. Their habits are actually the opposite of what you need. So get this, you have to train every single worker from scratch, on your project's time, and with your client's money. And even after all that, there's no guarantee they'll stick around. And then there's the main ingredient, the earth itself. You can't just pick up the phone and order a truckload of rammed earth mix. You have to actually find the right soil, take samples, run a bunch of tests to make sure it has that perfect recipe of clay, sand, and gravel. Even if the soil on your site is free, it still needs to be dug up, sifted, and tested. It's a whole science project, not a simple shopping trip. So when you add all these wild cards together, the custom formwork, the untrained labor, the variable soil, that standard 10 or 20% contingency fund that you'd budget for a normal project, it is just not going to cut it. Not even close. Real-world experience in India shows you need a contingency of 40 to 60%. That's a number that can give clients a heart attack, but it's what reflects the actual risk. And that brings us to the other major breaking point, the timeline. An architect, thinking with their conventional build hat on, might schedule 3 or 4 months for the walls. The reality? You're looking at 6 to 9 calendar months. Why? Because you have to account for rain delays, for soil to dry, for the crew's learning curve, and for the simple fact that good compaction just can't be rushed. This massive gap between expectation and reality creates so much stress for everyone involved. Now here's where it gets really interesting. It's this weird paradox where an architect's greatest strength, their amazing ability to design, can actually become the project's biggest financial trap. Let's be perfectly clear about something. At its most basic, building with simple, straight rammed earth walls can be very affordable. The material itself is cheap, sometimes even free. But the second that architectural ambition gets injected into the project, the whole cost equation flips on its head. Clients hire architects because they want something unique and beautiful, right? But it's those very design choices that can make the budget absolutely explode. Just take a look at this table. It lays it all out. On the top, you've got your simple rectangular wall. The formwork is easy, you can reuse it, and training the labor is straightforward. That's your baseline. But now look at the second row, a complex curved wall. All of a sudden, your formwork is a custom, one-time use piece of art. The labor needs to be way more skilled and everything slows way down.
The impact on cost and time isn't just a bit more, it's exponentially higher. Every curve, every unique window opening adds complexity you just don't see in a regular build. So, knowing all this, how on earth do you actually pull off a rammed earth project successfully? Well, it takes a whole new rulebook, one that's built on the reality of the material, not on wishful thinking. Here it is, the path to success. 1. And this is absolutely critical. Get a rammed earth specialist involved before you finalize the estimate. 2. Budget with brutal honesty. That means putting that 40 to 60% contingency in there and explaining exactly why it's needed. 3. Design simply. Stick to rational openings and avoid those complex curves unless you have a truly massive budget. 4. You have to lock the design down. Every little decision, windows, electrical outlets, everything has to be made before you start ramming, because making changes later is a nightmare. And finally, 5. Plan for reality. Schedule 6 to 9 months of actual calendar time for the build. The most important thing to remember is that this isn't the architect's fault. They're using the tools and the experience they have. But the problem is, for this material, the entire estimating model is just wrong. The predictable supply chains, the trained labor pools, the reliable timelines of conventional building, they just don't apply here. And this all leads to a really powerful, kind of uncomfortable truth. If you get a bid for a rammed earth project, and the numbers look pretty good, comfortable, maybe even a little less than you were expecting, that bid is probably wrong. It's based on a broken model. But if that bid comes in and it makes you, the client, a little nervous, if that contingency seems huge and the timeline feels incredibly long, that might just be an honest bid. It's a bid that actually respects the true challenges and the unique, demanding, and ultimately beautiful process of building with the earth itself. And really, that kind of honesty is the only foundation worth building on.